So the AV budget, as you can see, significantly decreased for the Adult Services Department, and some of that is related to fewer purchases being needed because of the disc cleaning machine, able to get different things from CCS, but also moving some of those monies around about where we're purchasing e-content as well. And then same thing with AV for YS. And again, these numbers are come directly from Natalia and Courtney, so this is what the department heads have determined they need to meet collection development demand. Microform and digitization, again, we keep that in every year because we do occasionally need to do that, so I leave that in. That's a pretty standard cost for that. Programs, both for adults and YS, we bumped up a lot, both because programming is one of the things that we are really known for, and we do a great job at it. And we want to be able to offer more of that. We want to do more musical performances. Those things cost a little bit more money. And then we're also going to be partnering with the village to do a One Book, One Village program next year. So I'm trying to get in touch with someone from the Community Relations Commission. But anyway, so that would require a little bit extra money too. So
it evens out with the less
right
purchasing of the books and
so
whatever.
Yeah. So we've really programming is so successful here. I mean, it's really and they do a great job. And so it's one of those things that I think is money well spent, and we're really known for that. Quite frankly, I mean, not only in the community but in the library community as well. So. Photocopier acquisition and maintenance, that is much higher than it was last year. As you may remember, we did get all new copiers and printer. We got all new copiers this year, and then we also got a couple of extra copier printers for different places in the library that didn't have them before. This amount that I'm asking for in the budget, that's contractual, but it also includes all of the toner supplies. In the past, those toner supplies came out of our supply budget. So there's a number of things that come out of the contractual agreement that we have that we were paying for on different lines last year. That is all now under this one line. So that is why that is higher. Automation, as I said, what I have here is all of our contractual costs with OSG, which includes our monthly hassle-free maintenance with them, and then all of the licensing for Windows, wireless access, our backups, anything that requires licensing like that. And then also, so that actually comes out to about $93,000. And then we've included extra monies for miscellaneous technology purchases that the other departments have asked for. We may want to get an additional self-check unit, which are not cheap. They're about $10,000 each. We're going to be starting a library of things. So we're going to be getting things like a GoPro and that kind of thing that we can check out to people. There's some tablet replacement that needs to happen in YS, and potentially some new AWE. Those are early learning computers that are specifically, the software comes on the computers, and so we may be getting a couple of those as well. So the automation budget reflects both all of our kind of licensed and contractual obligations, as well as additional things that departments have asked for. Databases have gone down and probably will continue to decrease. Most of that is due to, we've dropped a couple of kind of higher cost and very low usage databases, but a big portion of that savings comes through, we're going with a different vendor for a couple of our bigger kind of magazine databases and some other things, and legal forms databases. We have been longtime customers of EBSCO products, and we have been generally unhappy with both their product and their service, quite frankly, and so we've chosen to move to go with Gale, who's another big vendor in this area, and so we achieved significant savings through that, so we'll be going with them next year. So And then, as I said in my notes, we do monitor this all the time, the database usage, and we make decisions throughout the year about whether or not we want to drop or get a database depending on usage. It's been an interesting, database usage is always something that libraries have struggled with. I mean, even before the advent of the internet, but you know, certainly it can be difficult to promote database usage when we're competing with the internet. So, but we are going to be making some. So we're redoing the newsletter and some different things in terms of marketing. We're going to be marketing the databases a little bit more aggressively than we have in the past too, and hopefully that will help, especially with some of the newer databases that are being a little bit more appealing, I think, to people. So again, the database amounts, that's what the department heads have asked for, and so I try to accommodate that. Staff support databases are those that we need to like process materials, that kind of thing. They have to do with either OCLC or like Web Dewey or our Baker and Taylor support, those kinds of things. So those are all kinds of things that we need to just kind of cost of doing business, if you will, and similar to online services as well. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So CCS, this is a new budget line. It was not on the 2019 budget because we weren't part of CCS at that point. So this is our membership in CCS, and it also includes our OCLC fees, which prior to 2019 were separate fees. So we pay for membership in CCS, OCLC fees, and then also Novelist. It's a database product that we used to pay for. That's another reason that we have less in databases as well. I forgot about that till just now, so my apologies. That was included as part of being in CCS, so we've achieved some saving there. And this is close to actual cost of what it will cost us, because I know what the membership fees are for CCS for 2020. And then online services, as I said in my notes, that has increased to reflect, we signed a contract with Orange Boy, which is it's like constant contact, that kind of thing. They do email marketing, and then a lot of really in-depth analytics to see how successful your email marketing is going to be and that kind of thing. So this is one of the things that, now that we've got a dedicated marketing department, marketing engagement, that we want to start doing a lot more with marketing. So that was one of the things that Chad had asked us to consider. So, and I think that we've gotten some feedback from other libraries that have been using it, and we think it would be really useful and helpful to target audiences and make sure that we're getting our message to the right people. Like, it will give us the ability to, who does children's programming, who attends children's programming, who would want to see something about children's or adult, or a senior program or something like that. So I think it'll be really great. So that's pretty much materials and services. Any questions about that section? So that does end up being less than 2019. Certainly, and a big part of that is probably the databases. I would say, if I had to pick one thing that does that, which gives you an idea of how expensive databases are, because that money reflects about 15 databases. So yeah, it can be, yeah. I mean, we've been spending. We've got we have a children's database that costs $13,000 a year. We've had some adult ones that cost that much. I mean, it's a really, and they've always been that expensive, but it can be hard to justify when you don't have the use for them. So that's, we really try to take hard looks at those. So.
Can you get rid of those databases, say you don't, in the middle of a year?
Not usually.
Not usually.
So
okay.
Usually sign the contract. So,
right.
But like I said, we continue to monitor them, and then when we know that the contracts are coming up, and then we decide. You have to be really proactive, and luckily we've got an adult services librarian that is. So Mark Knox, one of the adult services librarians, he's kind of in charge of those, and so he pays attention to the usage all the time, because frequently, if you're going to terminate your contract, even at the end of the contract, you have to give them 60 to 90 days notice, and some of them can be very inflexible. So we try to keep on top of that, and But Mark is doing a good job with that. So we think we have it narrowed down now to some that are used or that we feel that it's really important that we still maintain. So. Okay. So the operations section has to do with all the other stuff from the building, mostly. Building maintenance, no increase from 2019. This includes, as I said, a lot of our general maintenance contractual costs, cleaning, lawn service, pest control, parking. We pay St. Martha's monthly, not insubstantial fee. And so that incorporates all of that. So again, no increase from last year for that.
The new HVAC unit.
The new HVAC unit.
That's the other one.
Pardon?
There'll be the other one.
You have included the other one that we have to that you were talking about.
Right.
In this.
Yeah. Or out of construction in progress. So either, we can take it out of either one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this was the first year that Ed had prepared the maintenance budget. So this is one of his budget lines. And so this does not include, the 90,000 here does not include the replacement of HVAC. We did actually include that under construction in progress. Depending on what levy levy request the board wants to move forward with, we can move those expenses around still, but yeah. Construction in progress, as I said, that's a general line that both includes funds to be used for either general service improvements. So in the past it had been used only for like building, and it was a line that was developed when the 2015 renovation was being undertaken. But we've tweaked that slightly, and we've used that for both building related expenses that might not have been budgeted for in other lines, or if there's a new service or a new program, something that we want to incorporate that we weren't aware of, when the budget was developed. So we try to keep that in there. So as you can see from my notes, this year, some things that we had not included in some of the other building lines were potentially replacing the lighting in the Baxter Auditorium, replacement of the outside railings, which we did on the staff stairs coming up to the back of the building because that one was broken, but all of the other wrought iron railings are in poor shape, and so we'll have to do that. Repair of the concrete on the front porch, which we would try to do maybe in conjunction with the railings because they're sunk into the concrete. We actually do have a lawn sprinkler system that has not worked for several years. It's good. So potentially repairing that, especially that became an issue this year, though I don't know how much it will be in the future. And there's some philosophical, I have some philosophical, I don't like to water the grass, but we did get new sod. And so the maintenance staff was out there hand watering the grass. So this is one of the things that Ed suggested we look into at least getting a price on. And then purchase of security cameras, both at certain parts within the building. We do have a number of blind spots in the building that would be great to have line of sight to. And then also outside the building, we have no security cameras outside the building, and we're gonna do one right on the book drop. So. I'm sure since it's been hit in 2 times in 6 months.
But those posts have been painted.
The posts have been painted.
Beautiful thing.
Yeah. So those are some things that we've looked at in terms of construction in progress. So because that line is more of a, I don't want to say miscellaneous because not everything can come out of there, but it is the line that gives us the most wiggle room, if you will, and it is the line that if you look through all the different budget scenarios or the different levy scenarios, that is where we're making those adjustments, most of those adjustments, since a lot of these other costs are things that I really can't control. They're either contractual or they're pretty close to what I estimate those costs would be in order to continue to provide the service and programs that we do. So that's where you're going to see most of the change from levy request to levy request in terms of expenses. This line would also be used, additional monies out of this line would also be put towards any YS renovations as well. So the higher levy requests will, absolutely give us more money to put towards those YS renovations. Should we go with that? Should we go that route? I do have a preference. Equipment and, where am I at? Equipment, machinery maintenance. This is where we have, oh, actually, here, he did take this out of here. So last year it was so high because we included a replacement of the generator, which cost $50,000 last year. So that's done and we don't have to pay for that. So this line includes other maintenance costs that we have, like equipment maintenance costs, sprinkler, alarm, HVAC, the preventative maintenance contract, elevator contract, the generator has to be inspected twice a year. And then the replacement of the older unit that I said we're going to have to do next year comes out of this line as well. Because when we spoke to the guy from Midwest Mechanical, he anticipates that it would be a similar cost for replacement of the next HVAC unit for next year, so another like 20,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that breaks up out. Furniture acquisition, I kept flat. We don't purchase a lot of furniture throughout the year. We do a few things, like we've got some stuff coming in for the teen department or for the teen room. Most like YS furniture expenditures would probably, if we get new shelving or whatever, would probably come out of either sale of the building, special reserves, that kind of thing. But certainly anything that we don't spend on more general furniture purchases, this would go again with YS stuff. But library furniture is surprisingly expensive. It's difficult to buy things at IKEA that last. So I think it's always shocking to people that when they first start looking at the cost of library furniture, so $15,000 is, while it seems like a lot, it really isn't, but we don't make a lot of furniture purchases as well. I may buy myself a new desk. I will say that, but since I'm using two tables right now, so I might break down and buy a desk. So that has stayed the same. Utilities have run no increase. This $13,000 is pretty close to actual cost, with a small percentage increase. This is usually more than enough for the utilities that we spend. For example, we don't pay electric, the village pays our electric, so this is like water and sewer and some other things, gas. Insurance are, again, close to actual costs. We have a really good insurance broker who does a good job with our annual insurance, and in fact, the past couple of years, we've actually, there's been a slight decrease in our insurance. But last year, we had a decrease because of no workers' comp claims, and so, but Jack is really good about making sure that we're adequately covered and we have more than enough insurance actually, but you know, with little to no cost increases. So I feel pretty confident that we're pretty good there. Library supplies, that budget line has gone down slightly. Indicates toner supplies for the copiers and printers are no longer coming out of this line, but we're looking at potentially outsourcing more processing, physical processing of our materials, and so there's some greater increases associated with that. So while this year we're probably going to spend about $30,000 and we budgeted for $36,000, next year, because we're looking at outsourcing some more processing, we'll probably, that's why I asked it. It didn't drop completely. There's not kind of a one-to-one correlation, so, but it is a little bit less than what the budget was last year. Telephone costs, as I mentioned in my notes, we signed a slightly upgraded telephone contract when we had an IT manager on site. We had only the basic coverage for telephone repair and or telephone maintenance of the lines. But when that position was eliminated, we signed a higher end contract, which allowed for, you know, more in-depth assistance should we need it with the telephones. So that's why that increase came this year. Postage, a relatively big drop off in postage. When you don't have to send out overdue notices, you save a lot of money. So the postage costs that you're seeing are almost all the cost of sending out the library newsletter and, you know, some miscellaneous pieces of mail, but not sending out the overdue notices when we went fine-free really made a huge difference. I had to look at that number a couple of different times. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're not sending out overdue notices. Printing, we're asking for a little bit more. primarily to accommodate increases in marketing pieces and producing additional material that with the new branding and new logo. So slightly more than last year. Promotion and publicity, I bumped up a lot, primarily because now, again, with the dedicated marketing engagement department, we're looking at doing a lot more marketing of the library and its services and the programs and collections. And so we want to make sure that we've got enough funds to cover that. So I did bump that up by quite a bit. Meals, recreation, and recognition, those are things that are associated with staff, morale, and recognition. You know, for example, that summer reading, we had a cookout. It was really fun, actually. Karina and Jeff and Courtney and Helga were working on that, so it was a lot of fun. But also things like, you know, staff anniversaries, significant anniversaries, retirements, babies, those kind of, you know, we buy a cake, that kind of thing. So that covers all of that. And like I said, also things like staff in services, also monies for that, like if we have to get an outside speaker, or on those days that we have staff training where we're close to the public, most of the staff is here, and we usually provide them with lunch and then, you know, continental breakfast, those kinds of things. So that's what those funds are used for, and that has stayed the same over the past couple of years. Continuing education and meetings, we did ask for more than was budgeted for we asked for last year. As I said in my notes, that's primarily due to American Library Association annual conferences in Chicago this year. When that happens, we get a lot more people that attend because it's right there. Mm-hmm. So there's an increase in registrations, transportation costs, meals, that sort of thing. And then also the Public Library Association conferences every other year. And there are 2 people that are going to be going to that, me and Jeff. So we try to send 2 to 3 people if we can, if it's reasonable, if we have the funds. It is an outstanding conference. I think many people on the board do remember, well, a couple of people maybe, I'm not sure now that I think about it, I know Carlotta for sure. When Jeff attended, you know, I mean, we get so much out of that conference because it is geared just towards public librarians. And so, so this year we think, as of right now, there's only been 2 people that have professed an interest to go. Natalia and I were supposed to go 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, and we got snowed in, so we had to cancel. So we were very disappointed. That was the year that Michelle Obama was there. So we were disappointed because we thought it would be really neat to see her. I think it was Michelle. But it was, the day we were leaving, there was a big snowstorm. So we had to cancel our airline tickets and everything. So, so this year, it's in Nashville. And as I said, right now, Jeff and I are interested in attending, and we may possibly drive, just depending on, I think that'll be cheaper, so we'll see. We'll have to figure some things out. But that's why that's a little bit higher. Again, primarily because of ALA, just because there's an increase in people that attend then. And one of the things that I'm also thinking about with ALA is, I've heard of libraries that have done this. It's a little bit more difficult for us because of the days of the conference, and it's the middle of summer reading, is closing the library and having all staff go down and do the exhibits for ALA. I know people think, you probably think I'm crazy, but but the exhibits are really cool, and a lot of, you know, professional staff often have the chance to go to some of these conferences and stuff, but our support staff don't. So we may try to work that out as well. So we'll see that. We'll have to figure that out. The nice thing is that we can oftentimes get free exhibit passes from a variety of vendors, and it's just it's a neat thing because there's a lot of, it's a good way to kind of see what's new and what's coming in the library world, and it's great for staff that don't typically have a chance to go to those things. So we have to work that out. So
that July or August?
It's usually at the end of June. So, and then into July. Like, so it's kind of running into
August. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be great if they could do it at another time of year, but just because it can be difficult, especially for us because we do so much programming with summer reading. I mean, the YS department has at least one program every single day of summer reading. Yeah. At least. Yeah.
It's busy down here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is.
Yeah. So, memberships, as you know, I mean, for the trustees as well as for our professional staff, we do pay for their memberships, and one of the associations, most people join ALA, some join ILA, but this is the actual cost of those registrations for memberships. It's a perk that they get. Professional services, as I said, this includes our fees for payroll services. This has gone up. We are adding additional modules to our payroll service that have to do with applicant tracking, onboarding, compensation tracking, those kinds of things. That will be really helpful, particularly as we move forward with, Blanche retiring. If we can automate some more of that, that makes it easier for me as the person kind of in charge of everything, but also for the department heads when it comes time for annual reviews and that kind of thing. And then it's all handled online. Consultant services, as I said, this is our membership in HR Source, the people that created this document for us. Potential architect fees if we move forward with YS renovations. Actuarial fees that are associated with the MRF plan, as I mentioned earlier when we were talking about retirements. And then also our current strategic plan ends in 2020, and I would like to hire a consultant to assist us with the creation of the next strategic plan to elicit more community input and more staff input, and there's a couple of people that are really great, and so rather than trying to do that completely in-house, I'm looking to a consultant to assist with that. So those fees would come out of that consultant services line. And then miscellaneous is, we have a very small amount of miscellaneous. There isn't a lot of things that come out of that budget line because we try to account for everything else. As a public library, we shouldn't have a lot of miscellaneous fees that we're not tracking and that we can't explain to the public, so that stays pretty low. And then collection fees, vending is the cost of stock for the vending machine. We do own outright the actual machine, so we have to fill it with stuff. So that's what we typically spend. We bumped that up a little bit because to better reflect the actual cost of what we're buying. So, and then collection fees are fees that we must pay to other libraries for reimbursement of their lost materials that have been checked out for Morton Grove patrons that they've either gotten through CCS or a true interlibrary loan, or if they've gone to, let's say someone goes to Niles and checks out a book and they lose it, oftentimes we might have to reimburse them.
The library will close in 30 minutes.
So those are all of the operating costs. Any questions about any of that? It's a lot of stuff.
So, I mean, each line actually looks like, it wouldn't necessarily change, even if we did raise, a levy. Why on the bottom does it go up?
Where?
An operation subtotal? Do you see how it goes up with each levy column? Am I looking at something wrong?
Yeah, I see that. So because the construction of progress budget is within the operation.
Oh, because that's in there. Okay,
yeah,
I'm sorry. Sorry. No.
Mm-hmm.
There's that gap there. That's,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that's
Sorry.
Okay.
That's a gap just between the 7,000s and the 8,000s.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why. So, okay.
Cool. Okay.
Any other questions about that section? Okay. The last section is just special fees and taxes. There's just a couple. FICA, it's the Social Security, all of that, it always is 7.65% of salaries because I'm asking for more in the salary budget lines. That number has gone up. So that's just a reflection of that. The audit, there's a significant increase, as I explained in my notes. Prior to a couple of years ago, the library and the village used the same auditor. And so a lot of the reports that the village, because we are a village library, we're still part, the village still has to report on different things, but the reports that the auditor prepared for the village, they were able to apply to the library through, and then we weren't charged for some of those things. But now the village uses a different auditor than we do. And so some of the reports that the auditor needs, the village's auditor now has to prepare and then they charge us. So there is some increased fees associated with that. Yeah. So yeah, we are using Sickage still. As you know, you've seen Brian, and we've been happy with them. We work really well with them. I would be loath to change them, particularly for next year with the first year Blanche not being here. So, and the village used to use Sickich as well, and a couple years ago they switched to an auditor, Louder Rock and Aitman is what they use. So some of the reports that are associated with the GASB requirements and some IMRF reports, Louder Rock and Aitman has to prepare specifically for the library, and then they charge us for those. That used to be things that Sickich just prepared, and then they were able to use that information for us. So this is a more accurate reflection of what the charges will be. As I said in my notes, and you see them here, I'm keeping the loan and the loan principal and the loan interest and fiscal charges in here. These were two budget lines that were developed when we had the line of credit loan, or the line of credit that we transitioned into a fixed loan. I kept that in there in the event that, moving forward with YS renovations, we made any decisions about, taking out another line of credit loan or a fixed loan, depending on what kind of monies we might need to do some renovations. So that's the budget.
Nice job.
Great job. I can tell you what I think we should do if you want to hear it.
Absolutely.
I would like to ask for either 2.5% or 3% increase in the levy for a couple of different reasons. Especially with it being so close to the building across the street actually selling. And I think there's a recognition on the board and certainly in the staff and in the community that we need to do something with the YS department. We're going to get probably about $300,000 from the sale of the building. We have about 111 in special reserves now. I figure by the end of the year we might be 150, something like that in special reserves. $450,000 isn't a lot of money to really do anything. So any extra monies that we can get, I think would be great to be able to put towards that if we could. So that's primarily why I think we should do that. I think that that is primarily why I think we should do that, and it gives us a pretty good basis then to make some other changes to support the building. As we've talked about over the years, this is an increasingly aging facility. I mean, there's always going to be expenses that we don't even plan for, and I know the previous boards have been really committed to staying in this building, and quite frankly, I don't see the community supporting moving out, a referendum that would allow us to move out of this building. So I think that we really need to pay attention to supporting the facility we have, and unfortunately that takes money. And so that is what I think we should do. I think the other thing too is that I think the board knows that I try to be very careful with our money. I don't think there's anything that I've asked for that I can't defend or that the staff can't defend that when they're asking for. And I tell the staff this all the time. I said, I have to be able to answer to an irate taxpayer why we're doing something. And the staff appreciates that. And I know the village has been appreciative of us as well, because while they're required to levy whatever we ask for, a lot of people don't understand the distinction between the two boards, and so it's nice for the village to not have to, defend us asking for a ton of money every year. I'm very cognizant of people's financial situation and Morton Grove, and as the board knows, we've been pretty good as a board and as a library of keeping the budgets flat at least every other year. So it's not like every year we're asking for, a 2 to 3%.
Last year it was flat.
Last year was flat. The previous year, I think it was 2.5% or 2%, and then the year before that it was flat. And so, it's not like every year we're asking for more and more money. I think that, I certainly feel like I can defend any purchases that we make, and I would like to think that the board also feels that if someone came up to you in the community that you could talk about why we asked for the increase that we asked for. So that would be what I would like to do so that we can continue to make the improvements in this building that are necessary given just both, kind of just the community in general, but also there's a number of other things that are going on. The Harrow Pool thing is going on, that kind of thing. So really we have to be cognizant of the other things that are happening in the community and saying, we're trying to be good stewards of the public money. But we can't let the building fall down around us. So that would be my recommendation.
Well, great job.
Thank you. Just, I mean, I know it's a lot, and especially for people that haven't done it before, but I try to explain everything as much as I can. Obviously, this is the first reading, so I would say, you know, if you have any questions about anything that I didn't answer, to please let me know, and I will try to answer those for you. And then at the October meeting, the board will have to make a decision about what they want to do based on my, you know, my recommendation and the budget scenarios as presented.
My only thought that I think, so with the YS renovations, a while ago, I don't know who, maybe just Joanna, Carlotta, and I have heard this, but you got like a rough kind of idea of the schedule of the YS renovations and how much each kind of phase would be.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that if we were to do renovations in YS, we would at least want to make it at least somewhat, you know, where we could whether it's the staff could still do their work, it would still be, I don't know, worth the money that you're spending. You know, a little bit. Not necessarily, you can't necessarily do it all at the same time, but basically.
We could if we wanted. I mean,
but we could. But basically, like, I know. I don't expect you to remember all the numbers off the top of your head.
I remember them actually.
All right. Well, I think that just would help with, you know.
So what I was talking about, and not everyone is here. So it's been 3 years now, because it was when I first started back again. We did actually have an architect come out, a very popular architect in library land, and that I have worked with before, and was doing a couple of, and just we did Lincolnwood, they're redoing my old library, and I'm really jealous. I was there this morning. Anyway, but anyway, we had someone come out just to say, just so that when we started talking about this, that we had some idea of what this could potentially cost. And so at that time, Courtney had some ideas about, you know, what she thought we needed. And so we met with them a couple of different times. They charged us, I think it was like $5,000 to come out. They gave us some, you know, just very kind of rough plans, and then also gave us just some cost, again, very general cost breakdowns, just so we had an idea of what they cost. So they gave us 3 or 4 phases. I don't remember that, I can look that up, but I said, give me 2 numbers. I said, you know, tell me what it would cost if we did this phased work, you know, thinking first, not even so much about could people continue to use the apartment, because we'll figure that out. Right. But it was more, you know, if I didn't have a chunk of money and I had to do this in phases, how much would each of these sections cost me? And so they broke things down. The ceiling and lighting was 1 phase, and that's really a big major part of any of the renovation plans that were, you know, anytime that we've looked at that, we know that that's going to be a huge amount. That was going to be about, I'm just going to throw some numbers out, $350,000. No, maybe not that. I don't remember that. I remember the overall total. But so the lighting was 1 phase. Reconfiguring the floor and new shelving was another phase. The bathrooms was another phase. So it might have only been 3 phases, because that was, and then I think there was another phase that was bumping out where Courtney's office currently is in YS, down by where the youth services reference desk is. That was another phase, just to get a little bit more floor space for services and collections.
And then changing this door to
that wasn't even included in this.
Oh no.
No. So so altogether, those things, they said if we did it all at once, it would be about $735,000 at that point. Lighting, I think, was $350,000. You know, shelving was like another $80,000. The bathrooms were going to be like about $100,000. So I mean, the different things added up, and I can send that to everyone if you want to see what they gave us that time. It's already 3 years old.
Yeah.
One of the things that I would like to do, again this year, if we can do it, or at the beginning of next year, is have them come out again and give us some updated numbers, especially now with having youth services be birth through 8th grade. You know, we're thinking about, does it make sense to try to incorporate some kind of middle school space? And then we're also looking at potentially doing something different with either the YS workroom or all of that space that's in the storage area. There's a big empty space that we've not used.
So can the public?
We don't know that.
Okay.
So I've heard a lot of conflicting things over the years about whether or not that space is usable. If it is, there's the potential is there. Also, you know, the staff bathrooms, which are from the Stone Ages, it feels like, you know, would be great to upgrade some of those. So there's some other things that we're thinking about now that we're a couple years down the road, and we're making some other staffing changes and that kind of thing. So what I would like to do, and my thought is kind of more long term, but you know, certainly now that we're close with the building selling, is that to you know, get to the end of this year and say we've got, you know, $450,000 in special reserves. If we go with the 2.5% or 3% increase in the levy, we've got a little extra dollars that we can put towards the YS renovation, and then actually looking at a line of credit or a loan from Fifth Third Bank again, and you know, have those payments spread out over 5 years. When we had the $200,000 loan, we did the payments in 2 years, and it was $9,000 a month. I mean, we had to account for that. But I think, but what I'd like to do is any renovation project that we did, I'd like to go in with $1 million. It sounds like a lot of money, but it really isn't, and it goes fast, and especially now with the tariffs on everything, I imagine that those prices will be pretty high, or higher than they were. So I would like to get some updated pricing, and Courtney has some different ideas about potentially using the space in a different way. So I think that having the architects come out again just to give us some ideas is well worth the $5,000 that we spent last time, just so that we know that we're doing the right thing. But
no, I think it's just because it really does help just have an idea that this is a big project, and so any extra money will definitely be helpful. I definitely think it's a great idea to have them come out again so we can get.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, you know, Courtney's really good. I am not very good with spatial stuff, but Courtney really is, and she's always thinking about the department and what she wants to you know, what she thinks would be best for the patrons and for the community. You know, and it's unfortunate that we weren't able to do more when we did the 2015 renovation, you know, but money was an issue then as well, and you know, there were certain things that needed to be done. Again, you know, $1 million sounds like a lot, and I don't want to poo-poo that. I mean, it is a lot of money, but in terms of the cost of construction and that kind of thing, it's not. And as we have seen in this building, there'll be surprises. There'll be surprises, and they're not ever surprises that cost us less money. It's always surprises that cost us more money. So, you know, I'm trying to, you know, think about that in terms of, you know, asking for a little bit more money here, which I think is a little bit maybe more palatable. I mean, no one is ever going to recommend that you go for a referendum for $1 million. It's not worth the, you know, squandering any goodwill you might have in the community, that kind of thing, and it's not worth it. And so, you know, to be able to get those funds through just the normal course of business, you know, either things that we're able to transfer to special reserves because we're not spending them in other areas and that kind of thing, or recognizing that we have to support an aging facility, and this is one of the ways that we're going to do it, and you know, maybe needing a few extra dollars for that. And like I said, I'm happy to send out that document from a couple years ago from the architects so that you can see what the breakdowns they gave us if you want. But I thought I would wait till we actually sold the building before. I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, you know. So I've put off calling, you know, product architecture blisses out until I know I actually get some of these. So.
The library will close in 15 minutes. If you need to check out library materials.
All of that being said, I recognize, again, you know, I want to be a good steward of the public's money. You know, if the board should move forward with one of the lesser levy increases or a flat increase, we will make it work. That is what we do. But it would be our preference and my preference as a director. I mean, I feel like I have to, obviously I have to tell you what I think would be best for the library and the community, and that would be for one of the higher levy increases. Which, you know, broken down, it's not a huge amount of money. Even going from a flat levy to getting a 3% increase is only $100,000.
Right.
So, I mean, overall, it's not a huge amount of money, but it is $100,000 more that we could use for, you know, the support of the building or, you know, improvements on the building.
Well, you have cut, I have to admit. I mean, you've done cutting. When it came to the technology person, you outsourced that, you outsourced the cleaning. So, I mean, those are cuts of which nobody ever mentions, I'm sorry to say. They always say they want this, but they don't say, we want this, but we're going to cut that. And you did. And then, just so you know, she did. Which I think is, a good thing.
Yeah, I will tell you, I've been at other places where the board's philosophy, is very different, and it was that we're gonna get every single penny that's owed to us. And it's a much different philosophy, and I actually got in trouble for proposing a budget that was a no levy increase. So it's just a different philosophy and stuff like that, but that's not how I think, it's not how the board thinks, I know, and like I said, what this library does with our current budget is amazing, and like I said, I think that, both myself and the staff understand that, the realities of the community and, everyone's financial situation. It doesn't matter how much money you have or not, no one ever wants to pay more taxes, really, but, with the recognition that, people in the community want certain things, and the provision of those things does cost money. So.
You had mentioned the pool. What kinds of costs is the village planning
Oh boy.
I know, but are they planning a 3% increase, a 5%?
I don't know what
Possibly.
That's the park district.
The park district,
And the park district is a separate taxing body. Anytime you hear the word district, it means they're a separate. That's like a school district, and you'll know that because they'll all be separated on your taxes.
It's separate. You pay.
Yeah. If you look at your tax bill,
taxes to
Lima, you won't see the library because we're part of the village.
Yes.
But so whatever the park district does, whatever the school district does, that's the other thing that we need to be cognizant of what other institutions in the community are doing. That being said, I would be remiss if I said, oh, don't do this because the park district might ask for more money. The library has
I just wanted to
certain
have a sense of what the village, residents would perceive what we're doing aligned with everybody else.
Right, no, and that's the big picture. And the park district will be going for some sort of referendum. We live in an old village, and so there are a lot of facilities that need the little TLC, and that includes the pool, that includes the library, that there's major stuff happening on dumpster, so that we live in an old village, so it's good to have that big point of view, because the park district will be going for a referendum probably in 2020. So, but I also I'm with you, but I also don't think again, fingers, toes crossed and everything. Hundreds of patrons have been waiting and asking for wax renovations. We know that that's a priority too. So,
this is only $10–12 a household.
Right. I think one of the other things too is that, again, we're not asking for.
Right?
Yeah, it's like how many times do you go to Starbucks?
Right.
Yeah. That's the thing when you look at it. I don't want to say that it's to our advantage, but if you're talking about perception, because you don't see the library separately on your tax bill, we are part of the village's budget, and so when they present their overall budget, so you've got the village budget, and then we're like an appendix. But so when I actually I send a letter to the village, well actually the board president sends it, but I write the letter, kind of outlining our things, and I tell them what we're asking for. And they'll oftentimes, when they do their budget presentations, they will tell what the library is doing. And so, last year we were flat and the village raised their taxes. The village itself raised their taxes 3%. The previous year, the village stayed flat and we raised ours 2.5%. I don't know what they're going to do this year, but it's the village actually has to say, here's the increase. That's when they do their budget presentation. So this is our thing. So in terms of perception, people typically have not, I think also because we've done a really good job of holding costs down and just asking for what we need. This is why our special reserves and stuff aren't that built up, because we don't over budget. I try to ask for money that I think we're going to need. So, I mean, I don't think there's a perception in the village that the library is overspending or overtaxing, would be my, I mean, I don't, you know, I have to say, I always have to, or I have to be prepared to defend what we do and what we spend. That being said, I have never had someone come in and complain about the library's tax, or what they pay the library, and what we're purchasing, or what we're doing. So
They see all the other ones and it's.
yeah, and I think, but like I said, I think the perception is that I feel like the community feels like they're getting their money's worth.
Yeah.
And that we're
Well,
not.
everything they come into, they get it for free.
Right, I mean,
Technically, you know, I mean, you're not paying other than to get copies or something.
right, you know, which is different from like the park district where, okay, you're paying into the park district on your taxes, but then they're also gonna charge you for programs.
Correct,
So,
correct. You don't pay for
so, you know, I mean, I think, again, you know, it all comes down to being good stewards of the public money. I will, of course, do whatever the board, you know, votes on, but I think, as I said, you know, I wouldn't be a good director if I could say this is what I think that we need to do in order to continue to serve the community in the way that they expect us to. And that includes, you know, supporting our facility.
Do we vote on this tonight?
It's a first reading, so you would vote at the October meeting, and then after that I sign it. We usually do it now because the village needs it before their November meeting, because that's when they start their budget stuff. So the October would be the second and final meeting of that. So someone we just
Give
need
them a
to.
whole month to think about it.
Yeah, and then just think about which scenario they want, and then, you know, make that motion with that scenario, and then people would vote on it, and then I prepare the letter for the village and stuff. So as I said, it's a lot, I know, especially for those of you that haven't been looking at it all month, like, but if there's any other questions that occur to you over the next few weeks, please reach out, let me know. Does everyone want to see the breakdown from the architects from a couple years ago?
No, I don't want to see how it's gonna change.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to send it out, but if you're
Right.
like I said, to do all 4 phases or whatever was like $735, $750, something like that. But obviously, again, it was 3 years ago. We were in a different situation in terms of tariffs and just, you know, 3 years ago. So costs will certainly go up in different requirements in terms of.
I know how much the budget is, how much work that is, so, I know you've been staring at it for a long time, so good job.
I know, it's like two pieces of paper, and I'm like, this was.
Be about
It's
5.
not reflective of my hours of work,
Yeah, well, there's notes, and I talk a lot, but, yeah. Like I said, I try to explain everything, so I think it's fairly straightforward once you see it all, but again, if there's any questions, just let me know.
Okay.
Alrighty, well, no one needs to go executive session or anything, so I have 8:55, meeting is adjourned.